What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Camper Report. This is trial run number 2 because we weren't live last time I did my intro. So, Big Pele Slay, everyone. He's a diehard Eagles fan, big fan of his work, what he's doing. And how are you doing today? I mean, a lot going on. Big Eagles
Yeah,
offseason. They did a lot of moves. So, I'm excited to talk Eagles because it's been a while for me.
yeah, man. I appreciate you for having me. First of all, I just want to make that clear. I'm always in the chats, like here and there throughout the streams and stuff like that. I've seen a little of your stuff. But yeah, I'm
Mhm.
doing good. We had a really good off season. I guess we had a very talented off
Yeah.
season. Our GM Howie Roseman, who everyone has like this a grudge against, or they like him, they hate him. He did good this off season. But yeah, man, I am doing amazing.
Yeah, I my brothers have or should I say, a lot of Eagles fans have very mixed opinions about your GM. Once
Yeah.
again, everyone, sorry we're a little bit late. I had some things to do. We just getting ready, so sorry we're a little bit late. But so let's start off with the first topic. And again, you guys got out and got. I mean, you guys went out and really just you have one of the best offensive lines, one of the best receiving cores. But let's stick on the receiving core. Um, you guys went out and got AJ Brown, and I'm going to do a little bit of a debate here. 49ers versus Eagles. Again, I do this
Oh,
with my brothers all the time. And offensively, a better offensive line, but the receiving corps, like I think BFF ranked Eagles 4 and 49ers 6. So I think I know your answer, but who, in your opinion, has a better receiving core, the 49ers or the Eagles? And you can state your opinion. I can state mine. I think we have opposite opinions, but go ahead.
yeah. I think me personally, I'm gonna say we have a better receiving core. And it's not even that I'm biased. I'm not biased. I'm very like
Yeah.
logical about certain teams and stuff like that. I watch all teams. But I just personally feel like, Debo might be the best receiver out of both receiving corps, by a slight bit over AJ Brown. Either
Mhm.
way, they're top 15. I think Debo is at least top 10. I think if you
Yeah.
like compare both receiving cores, I think you could say Ayuk and Devontae Smith. Those two alone is like a debate in itself. But if we're just
Yeah.
going off of last year, people that like to go off of last year, Devontae was better, I guess. But that's the Ayuk didn't get the ball that much, and he still
No.
did a lot with it. And I love Ayuk. I think he's gonna have a good season this year. So, um, I personally feel like the Eagles have a better receiving corp, but it's not it's not anything against the Niners. They have a really talented receiving corp, like Jawan Jennings, a really underrated receiver. I really like him. You added
Yeah.
Danny Gray. Danny Gray, that was one of my favorite receivers from the draft process. Dude is a speedster.
Yeah.
Debo. You have guys like Ayuk. I think you have a very talented receiving corp.
Yeah, I think 49ers again, the Devontae Smith and Brandon Ayuk thing. I think Devontae Smith got a lot of Ayuk, but the big question mark with Brandon Ayuk, and this is the thing that like he needs to have a better start of the season. Like he never
Yeah.
really has a good like he always goes on a tear the last like 6 or 7 games where he gets like 100 yards per game, really gets a lot of work, really breaks out. But I want to see him do it through 17 games, and I think if he can do that, he can get across the 1,000 mark. He got a little over 800 last year, but I think Devontae Smith is maybe going to get a little bit of the targets taken away from him because, again, I didn't know this, but you guys got not Eric Pascal,
Zach
Zach
Pascal.
Pascal, as well
Yes.
as AJ Brown. So I think Devontae Adam gets less work this year. It's just going to be up to him to do more with the ball than he did last year. But for the Eagles fans, I bet you guys are very happy that Jalen Rager isn't like your number 3 receiver anymore. So that's
Yes.
got to be a relief. And as well as I mean, I think AJ Brown, I think really the two number one receivers for the 49ers and the Eagles are can they stay healthy? Both guys like have had health records, right? Because I think AJ Brown on the Titans last year was injured for most of the year, right?
Yeah, he was. He was injured and he played through an injury like a year or two ago. He's a very tough person. That's one thing I will give AJ Brown.
Yeah.
He's a top 15 receiver. It's just that there are receivers that I put over him, like Debo definitely is over him. But the dude is
Yeah.
a tough player. He played through a couple injuries, throughout the year, and he still managed to do it. And I remember that game that you guys played him. I'm sorry, man. He kind of, he had that like solid game against y'all. He did some work, man. Both guys did some work.
Yeah. Yeah, AJ. Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be hard. Like, I think they're both good players, but can they stay healthy? And then Ray McLeod, like, he didn't have that good stats last year. I think he only had 300 receiving yards. But to be fair, I think Big Ben, like Big Roethlisberger, he he's not the right. I don't think he's the right quarterback for
Yeah.
Ray McLeod. But I think your guys' offensive line, the one other thing is your guys' offensive line is so much better. So you're going to be able to air it out more. I think your offense is going to be opened up. It's just up to the quarterback to get it to them. So I mean, I think the Eagles, maybe really the 49ers, I think their receiving core has more question marks. And again, I think Debo Samuel's a little bit better, but it's very evenly stacked. It's really a fine line because I'm not really
Yeah.
sure who to pick. I'm going to say 49ers just off of slight biases. I think Debo Samuel is a better all-around player than AJ Brown, and so Debo Samuel can affect a whole game. AJ Brown, I'm not sure about that. Like, I don't know. So we'll see. There are a lot of question marks that are going to be asked because both teams have a lot of question marks along that receiving core.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And then it's like the thing with both of our receiving corps is we have talented players. It's just that our quarterbacks, it's like who is going
Yeah.
to be our quarterback? Like I know Hurts is going to be our quarterback, but there's still question marks with his game. And
Yeah.
then it's like no disrespect to Trey Lance. I feel like he's probably going to be the starter. The only reason I say he's like bottom of the like the ranks for quarterbacks, like starting
Oh.
is because I'm sorry to say that to any
Yeah,
Niners,
I commented on your
like,
Twitter posts.
he's had a small sample size. I just haven't
Yeah.
seen, like, enough from him. That's the only reason I say that.
Well, yeah, and I was wondering like why did he do him so low? But I guess like 40 like NFL fans looking in, I can see it. Like there's not a lot of a big sample size, but 49ers fans cover them so closely. When we see
Yeah.
these rankings so low, we're like, what are they doing? But I can understand. I just don't like Drew Lock is just like I think
No,
I at this point anybody's better than him at this
no.
point. But
I think I think the only quarterback Lance was better than, and he hasn't played enough, is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is terrible, but the
yeah.
thing with Trey Lance is I think he's gonna have a really solid season this year. Like
Mhm.
I think this dude is gonna improve to a different level because of the fact that he has Kyle Shanahan calling his plays, and he is such a talented quarterback. I think the list is gonna change in like quite a a second. It's gonna switch flip flop. Like last year, I thought Davis Mills was the best rookie quarterback from the Texans, but it could honestly just be Lance that comes out of this
Yeah.
class and he's the best quarterback.
Yeah. And again, so going back real quick to the Eagles receivers thing, and this is one thing I think we have over you guys is the Jawan Jennings big red zone target, big red zone threat. You guys, I looked at what's his name? Everyone, the buzz right now, at least from some of the Eagles fans I know, Quez Watkins.
Yeah.
That's kind of raising buzz, but he's not really a red zone threat. Who, in your opinion, aside from AJ Brown, because I know he can be a all around great receiver in the red zone, who, in your opinion, would take up if AJ Brown were to get injured today? Who, in your opinion, would take up that like red zone? Like, who would be the main receiver in the red zone?
I think it would be Zach Pascal because you
Really?
look at
Okay.
what he did in Indianapolis, right? So this guy was basically supposed to, have those like 10 yards, get those
Yeah.
catches within the like red zone and stuff. He was like the situational piece for Carson Wentz, and he made things happen with the ball. It's not like he's terrible. He played the three. It shows you how good that receiving core was in Indy, and it's very
Hmm.
talented. They had three other receivers that were higher on their depth chart than him, and he still was the four, and he still put up like 500 yards. That's kind of impressive if you ask me. Like, I get that
Yeah.
500 yards from a normal fan, it's just not like a lot. But if you do a little research on Zach Pascal, you could tell that man could play in the red zone. And I think he could be like one of those, situational security blankets for Jalen Hurts if we ever get in that like red zone situation.
Yeah, he had a good year in 2020 with, I believe, his Phillip Rivers,
Yeah.
630 yards, 5 TDs. So I think he had, I mean, he had a decent year last year. I think it was like 300 yards with Carson Wentz, but it was a mess last year with the Colts and Carson Wentz. It was really just the Jonathan Taylor show. So,
Mhm.
if you have anything else to say, or we can move on, it doesn't really matter on that.
Yeah, we've cleared a lot on that subject. Hey, I like it.
Yeah. So next one, where do you think the Eagles, and again, we're going to get back to some more 49ers, but you're an Eagles fan. Where do you think the Eagles rank in the NFC? And do you think they're truly contenders? I mean, they racked up all this talent defensively. They have one of the best defenses. But do you think they're a contender? And where do you think they rank in the NFC? I know in my opinion, they'd be number one in the NFC East. That's no doubt about it. But where in the NFC would you rank them?
So yeah, I agree. I think they're one in the NFC East too. Um, the only thing that might slow us down at the start of the season is these players have to mesh with each other and get along with each
Right.
other. And sometimes it's like you go into a team with a lot of talent that just came in through the offseason and free agency and the draft and stuff. It looks like a good team on paper. It just comes down to the meshing, team bonding, all that. But I think for one, I'm not gonna say I think we're like top 5 to be honest,
Yeah.
in the NFC. I think the Niners are a slight edge better than us. Um, I think the Rams are better than us. I think the Vikings are better than us. I think that's one team that doesn't get enough
The
respect. Um,
Dang.
yeah, I'm sorry, man. I love the Vikings.
Wow.
They got a roster over there. Um,
Okay, interesting. That's true.
and
I mean, they have good receivers and running backs, so that's
yeah.
true.
Who else would I say? That's a tough question. That is a
I don't know
really
why, like, this is our net. Oh, go ahead. Were you gonna say
No, I
anything?
was just gonna say it's a really tough question. Go ahead though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, like, this is our next topic, so, I mean, I'm not gonna cover it too much, but, like, the Packers, I don't know why they're ranked so highly, like, they're still ranked a top 3 team in the NFC, and I really don't know why. I
Yeah.
think maybe Bucks could be better than you guys, because they did add Russell Gage, which is a solid, like, he was really good, and I think he's gonna have a breakout year. I drafted him in fantasy last year, last night, so I think he's going to have a breakout year as well. I mean, you could see, I think Bucks, maybe, let me see who else. Rams. I think Rams will be better just because they got a really good receiver in Allen Robinson. That was a sneaky good pickup as well. So I think Bucks, Rams, and then I'm trying to think who else. I think you guys are top 3, top 4. I'd maybe,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Mm.
I think if the Eagles can figure it out with their coaching, and this is a big year for Nick Sirianni. Again, this is the year where he really gets to show what he's made of, and same with Jalen Hurts. Like, can Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni really work together and do a good job? And it's a prove it year for Nick Sirianni with the quarterback. Like, is he able to develop Jalen Hurts? Right. But the thing is so it's a prove it year for them. But if they can get everything done, I think their ceiling is like two seed in
Yeah.
the East. Now, if they don't, I still think like the NFC is a very forgiving conference because there's not, I mean, it's getting a little bit, I think it's stronger than it was last year. And there's always teams like the Saints that I think could be really good and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the Eagles, I think their floor is probably just missing the playoffs, but I don't think
Mhm.
I think it's going to be hard for them to get below 500. I think they're a 9-8, 10-7 team. Plus, you guys also have a pretty easy division to play and a pretty easy schedule, unlike the 49ers, for example, who have a horrendous schedule. It's going to be rough. So, yeah, I think that's your guys' ceiling and floors.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think our ceiling is like at least 10 to 11 wins. And then our floor is going to be like at least 8 wins because that's where we were last year, like 8 to 9 wins or something like that. I think we're gonna probably have like a high ceiling just based off our paper team
Mhm.
right now. And then it's like you look at what we did through free agency in the draft. People are gonna hype us up. And I'm okay with that. I just don't want like that to get to every player. And then, once that like overrated shenanigan stuff comes out, it's gonna be like
Yeah.
by the end of the season, it's not gonna be good for us if we don't look good on paper from where we started. But I think the Saints, the Eagles, and the Niners are like all around the same boat, to be honest. We all have talented teams. It's just that there's 3 teams better than us in like our
Mm,
respective conference.
yeah. Well, and I think with the Saints, it's all about the coach. Like, I don't know how he's going to do. And I don't think he had a very good previous track record. I'm pretty sure he was a head coach briefly and then he got fired, this head coach. I'm not sure, though. So, I mean, maybe the Saints, it's just about the coach. And I think the one thing that the 49ers, I think the only thing that they have on the Eagles is they're so good at like developing from within. Defensive coach, D'Amico Ryans, one of the best in the league, or if not the best, and then Kyle Shanahan. So they have established coaches that is going to help. But I think the Eagles, like Nick Sirianni, everything from him so far is promising. And so, yeah, this is a prove it year, like I said. Let's real quickly answer some comments. The Vikings are one of those teams that are a QB away from being a true contender. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about Kirk Cousins? Do you think
I love
he's
Kirk. I love Kirk, man. I'm sorry. And it's not even that like I get that he's not like a franchise quarterback for your future. It's just that what he showed
yeah,
me last year, he played really well in 5 games last year. And I don't look at just 5 games, but at the end of the year, he played really well in those 5 to 6 games. And it showed like how much of a like poised quarterback he was because
true.
the dude looked like a different quarterback from where he started to where he ended, and I was completely surprised. But I think Kirk, if you give him just an opportunity, like with the right team and a very talented defense, I think he could get you to the Super Bowl. It's just about like the nickups and stuff like that. And they have a very talented roster. You have a top 5 arguable receiver in Justin Jefferson and
Right.
another underrated receiver in Thielen
Adam
and
Thielen, yeah.
Dalvin Cook. They got pieces over there, man.
Well, and I think maybe it was just a change of coaching that would have helped this
Yeah.
team because that coach has been around since the beginning of time. It feels like for the Vikings. I've literally all like since I became a football fan, he's been the coach. Like I never have
Yeah.
known anybody else for the Vikings. So, yeah, maybe it's just a change of coach that will put that team over the edge. We'll see. That could be a breakout team. Carcast says, "What's up, Ben and BPS?" Um,
Let's go
big fan of
Parcast.
his. And then this guy right here, new to the
Hey, he's
shout
from my
out B
town.
Hub.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
from my town.
We
What's
will
up,
make a
B-Hub?
bet for Cowboys versus Eagles. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I always feel like Cowboys fans are always like too cocky. They're like, then again, now the Eagles fans this year, they're starting to turn into like, I just like, I tease my brothers all the time. Like, what if the Eagles are like the 2019 Browns? They just have this
we could.
insanely talented roster and then it all falls apart. That would be hilarious, but yeah, at the same time, not really for Eagles fans. So,
I honestly could see that. I don't even think you're wrong there. Like I think if like everything doesn't work out, we could just be like the 2019 to 2020 Browns, the year they were like 8-8 or something. Like they had all this talent, they were expected to make the playoffs, and it just fell, into a different corner. I
they
could
had
see
a
that.
they had like a new coach who was kind of promising, and then Baker Mayfield who was on the come up. Right? Yeah, I don't know. I think like a lot of people like to put it that year for the Browns. They like to put it on the coach, but I think it was slightly Baker as well. Like
Yeah, it
I
could have
think
been.
yeah, and I think the coach was the scapegoat, but it was also kind of Baker as well. Um,
Mhm.
and then just a few things didn't fall right for that team. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown on the same field. Whoa. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's going to be interesting. A lot of people, and I think if Miles Sanders can stay healthy as well. The thing with the Eagles is can they balance out, and that's the thing that the 49ers have done a really good job out is balancing out the passing, like don't pass the ball too much, take a little bit of pressure. So if Miles Sanders could stay healthy, I think that team is going to be really healthy, scary. And then maybe just don't throw the ball as much, like balance it out. Like it's going to be interesting to see Nick Sirianni doing that.
Absolutely, man, for sure.
Um, real quick,
Yeah, he's.
BPS knows I'm not like the. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I was just gonna say, yeah, B Hub isn't one of those type of fans. He's just logical for a Cowboys fan. Very logical Cowboys fan.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to the next topic, I guess. Are the Packers, this is an interesting one because they're still ranked very high. I think they're ranked way too high. I think they might still be number 1 because their defense is really good. They got almost better on the defensive end. I think they drafted a defensive player. I think it was a linebacker, 3 techniques,
Yeah.
some guy at the end of the first round. So that got better. Their defense got better, but their offense got in my opinion, significantly worse. I think they're going to fall back more on the running game
Hmm.
this year.
Yeah.
But the thing with me is, yeah, go ahead.
Nah, go
Is
ahead. My
so my
bad. My
question to
bad.
you: Are the Packers overranked in the list? That much?
Um, I could see it. Cause like to be honest, I don't think the Packers are a top 3 team anymore. Like even if they have A-Rod
Right.
still at the helm, um, I don't know, man. I think the Packers have a talented team. You arguably got the best linebacker from Georgia last year. And yes, I know we got N'Kobe Dean, but Quay Walker last year, he was a really talented player. Um, I did a lot more research on Quay Walker, and I don't think he's as bad as people think he is. Like, or and not even in reach, to be honest. He played like a top 5 linebacker last year on a really good defense. Same thing with Dean. It's just that there was
Yeah.
rotational pieces switched out in and out. From where Jordan Davis came in. And I don't know, man. I feel like it's just I don't know, man. I think the Packers are at least a top 5 to top 6 team. I don't think they're top 3. I think there's a couple teams better than them in the NFC.
Do you think the Vikings finally beat him out?
Yes. I think the Vikings are 1 in that division now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think like I don't really think the Packers coach is that good. I think every time in the playoffs he's kind of gotten exposed. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think good coaches, like I always say this, like good coaches when it comes to the playoffs, they have to do at least a little bit to win. In the regular season, you can cover up a lot of things, but if to make it to be a true contender, your quarterback and your coach have to be good. And again, that offense ran mostly around Devontae Adams. That it was a big part. So like now it's like who's going to be that replacement? You know, they got Christian Watson, but is he really? I don't think he's Devontae Adams type, like a Devontae Adams type player. So like 50% of their offense centered, or no, 95% of their offense centered around get the ball to Devontae Adams. Now it's going to really be up to Michael Floor to find other ways to be creative, basically, because I feel like that offense the last few years wasn't really creative. So now it's up to him to be more creative, and it's gonna really prove that. I mean, if he still leads this team even to a 3rd or 4th seed and wins the division, it's gonna prove that he's a good coach. But like from what we've seen so far, it's just be like give the ball to Devontae Adams, really no creativity, and then in the playoffs we've seen the last few years them just get shut down. Like any team that is actually somewhat has a somewhat good secondary, knows how to shut it down, will shut it down. So it's a prove it year for him, but as well as like he just needs to get more creative. And I could definitely see this team, instead of like they were a pass first team, I could see them more going to a run type team. But I don't know. I think the Vikings, like top to bottom, their roster is better. As far as proven coaches go, though, the Packers maybe have a more proven coach.
I agree. Matt LaFleur, very talented, offensive minded coach. It's just about who's better, but this year I think it's gonna be the Vikings.
Yeah. So my question to you is, why are you such a big fan of the Vikings? Just did you have some type of tie, like connection to them,
Nah,
or
it's not even just that. It's just that I think they needed a head coaching change. And like you
yeah,
said earlier, I think it's just about that coaching change that could help Kirk Cousins out. because he's not a defensive minded guy. He's an offensive minded guy, and Mike Zimmer was just that. And I think he was the reason they were held back.
Yeah, that's true. It could be. There's a lot of teams that are like hit or miss. A lot of teams with question marks this year. But personally, I think the Green Bay Packers maybe still get first, just because I don't know. It could be. It's going to be an interesting race. I think that NFC North has gotten slightly better though this year for sure. So, let's get to the fourth topic. Do you think Jalen Hurts has what it takes to succeed, and does he have the right coach to develop him? Again, we saw 1 year of them together. Obviously, Doug Peterson, I don't think that was the right guy to develop him, and that's interesting because he went to Jacksonville, and now he's developing Trevor Lawrence. So we'll see how that one goes. I don't think he's going to be the right man for the job, but do you think do you think Jalen Hurts finally has the right coach to develop him, and does he take that next step future wise to be like a top 10 quarterback?
Yeah, I think he could be a top 10 quarterback. Like his potential and his ceiling is that. It's
Hmm.
just a matter of like how his deep ball accuracy can change because that's the biggest worry with him. It's not that he can't hit the deep ball. It's like he has a good deep ball. It's just that
Hmm.
he's not hitting his shots like that. He has to like accurately hit his shots down the field. There was times where he missed Devontae Smith down the field, or a guy like Quez Watkins on those streaks and stuff like that, and that comes with field visioning. A lot of quarterbacks are like, it's bad with timing and anticipation. And Hurts is anticipation problems, but I think when it comes down to it, I think he could have that potential just based off this team. It just comes down to how this team bonds, like I said earlier. And then it's like coaching Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, I'm just gonna be straight up honest, his offense last year was bland. There was like a lot of games where the offense was bland. And it was more read option, try to get the ball from Hurts,
Yeah.
and then try to scramble it. And it was times like in the Niners game, I felt like they ran a very bland offense. I felt like the Niners like picked us apart in that game, even though it was like a 17-11 game. Like they did everything right
Yeah.
to stop
We
us.
shouldn't have won that game.
Yeah, it was a close game though, I will say.
Our both offenses were terrible. And that's another thing that I want to see with the 49ers is don't go off to a slow start. Like if we
Yeah,
do that, we are done, because last year we had an pretty easy schedule, but do not go off to a slow start, because we might be in a heap of trouble. So yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles there, Jalen Hurts is again that was the accuracy things, because like you said, the accuracy, like with the Bucks game, like he was making mistakes, but I think all of that comes with like experience. I think if
yeah,
you like if I think Nick Sirianni with I think last year what also I saw as well, or their receiving core was a little bit like not as deep, and that's the thing. Like I think because and their defense is going to help them a lot more this year, because I mean I forgot when you said Nakobe Dean. I forgot that they got him as well, plus the massive guy from Georgia, uh,
Jordan Davis.
Jordan
Yeah,
Davis. That dude, I saw a picture of him next to Fletcher Cox, and Cox is a big guy, but Jordan Davis was like 4 inches taller than this dude, and like twice this. I'm like,
yeah.
whoa, like their interior is going to be really good. So I think their defense is going to be solid, and so that's going to give, I think, Jalen Hurts more opportunities, because the takeaways, they got the guy from the Giants, what's his name?
We got James Bradbury.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's a good signing as well. And then Big Play Slay, or Darius Slay. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think your guys' defense is going to give them more opportunities this year. And then I've heard some, like, what is your personal opinion of the defensive coach? Because I've heard a lot of people don't really like him. He's mediocre. So,
Yeah, Jonathan Gannon, last year it was his first year at coaching as a DC. He's been more of like a defensive backs coach throughout his career. It's not that it's not that I hate him or like most
yeah.
fan bases hate him or just our fan base hates him. It's just that he couldn't do a lot with the like very little talent on defense we had. Like we had a really good number one corner in Slay. We had a really good D tackle in
Yeah.
Fletch and Javon Hargrave. It's just about, I think, the coaching and like how we lined it up. Sometimes there was times where some of these players barely fit our scheme, and then it came down to like how is he gonna like do well as a defense coordinator when you don't have guys that fit your scheme, and he couldn't show and prove that he could do that last year. I think we have the pieces this year, on defense, defensively, to get more talent for him. So this year it's no excuses for Jonathan Gannon. Like, this is your second year as a DC. You have the talent. They spent a lot on defense throughout the draft and through free agency. So yeah, they have to, man.
Yeah, it's a no excuses year for everyone. For Do you think if it doesn't work out this year, do you think even the general manager is gone? I think possibly even Nick Sirianni, but maybe like defensive coach, absolutely. Do you think Roseman is gone as well?
Being gone, to be honest. Like, yeah, you built a like basically what Miles Sanders said the other day. I don't think it's an all-star team, but it gives you like flashbacks to 2010 and 11, the dream team. We
Okay.
built a
Yeah.
really talented roster and we didn't win the Super Bowl. So it's like, I don't think this team has to win a Super Bowl this year, but in like at least a year and a half they have to, because you have the talent. If you get to the playoffs, that's amazing. But this year you can't just go to the playoffs and look like a terrible team. That's just not what we're cutting for. But if we do good and our talent shows to be good in the playoffs, then I think this could be a solid year for us. But Roseman spent a
Yeah.
lot through free agency, did a lot through the draft. If this team does not look right, that man could possibly be no job, and he's probably gonna be without a job, to be honest. But our owner has a tie to him, so even then, at that, I don't know if he gets fired.
Yeah, I could potentially, as well as like I could see it being, if you guys don't work out this year. I think the expectation for you guys is win one or two playoff games. Potentially, like, I think an NFC championship, like really showing that you're in it. But I think if it also doesn't work out, I think like I said, going back to the Browns of 2019 and 2020, I think it could be the coach being like a scapegoat and then keeping Jalen Hurts. Because I think if you guys see any flashes from Jalen Hurts at all, you're going to keep him this year, because you can't give up on a guy that essentially you traded away Carson Wentz. Now, that was a right move. You guys came off like bandits. Like, at first I was like, oh, but like, no, this was a great move. But like, you guys really, really put all your faith in Jalen Hurts. And there's still some question marks. Again, there's how he performs in big moments. I mean, that Bucks game was, who in your opinion, I think it was a mix of things, but who in your opinion was the main one? I think it was coach who was a little bit iffy in that Bucks game. Who, in your opinion, do you think
Uh,
was to blame for that loss?
I agree. I think it was the coach, and here's why I say that. This is the quarterback's first year starting. Let's take it back to last year. So I don't count his rookie year as like he played the entire season. So that's basically like a year where he just got thrown into the fire when we were absolutely terrible in 2020. But I think in 2021, this was his first year like starting as an
Yeah.
actual quarterback. Now he took the lows, the snaps, all of that. I think with that, I don't know, man. I feel like Nick Sirianni in that Bucks game, and he showed throughout the season, especially at the start of the season, that he looked like a bland coach, and then he started mixing in that running into the element for Jalen Hurts and the running backs. And it actually worked. Once we started doing that, I think it was when we played the Lions and when we played the Chargers,
Yeah.
we started running the ball a lot more, and it kept us in games. But I don't know. I think it's when we played the Bucks, that's when we really started like looking like a completely different team, because the first time we looked bland, and then the second time we looked even more bland. Um,
Yeah.
at least we scored a point in that first game. That second game, we just didn't look like the right team. And if you have a first year starting quarterback in the playoffs, you're supposed to make plays for him and make the
Yeah.
offense a lot easier for him to, just get in the groove of things.
Yeah, there was too much, like, Yeah, there was too much put on his shoulders, and that's what it goes back to. Miles Sanders is going to be, I think, a bigger key than AJ Brown this year because he was injured quite a bit last year, but he needs to stay healthy. They're kind of banking on Miles Sanders as well because that running back room isn't as deep as some running backs rooms would be. I mean, it's good, but it's not like what you guys have Miles Sanders and then Boston Scott or who else?
We also had Jordan Howard, but he's a free agent right now.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess you guys, if you guys, I think go into free agency or not free agency, training camp and be like, and you're not confident with the running backs that you have, then maybe you guys would go and maybe because I could look up the free agent running backs, but I saw the other day there was a few that are like Latavius Murray, for example.
Yeah.
He's out there. He's out there. So there's still running backs out there that I think the Eagles could get to just really bolster that room and and that would be a smart idea as well because how confident really are the Eagles in Miles Sanders staying healthy all season long? Like they've had the thing is like they're a good team, but a lot of their top players are injury, like AJ Brown, Miles Sanders, like guys that have had a history with injuries. So how confident really are the Eagles to stay healthy all year? And I mean, yeah. I mean, I remember 49ers 2020, 2021 when they had that injury year. Very talented roster, but not a ton of depth. I think the Eagles have done a good job at that, at adding depth, but their running backs, that's the one position group that I think doesn't have as much depth. And if Miles Sanders go down, you guys could be in a hole. So
Yeah. I think with us, it comes down to like how Miles Sanders, gets in that red zone. He actually scores this time because he
yeah,
didn't have a touchdown last year, but I
really,
yeah, he did not. He did not have a
dang,
touchdown. But he still made plays happen. Because he's one of those just like I wouldn't say gadget. He's one of those just like gone running backs. If he hits the hole, he's just using his speed to his leverage. But I think it comes down to our offensive line blocking really well for him, and they can definitely do that. They've shown and proven that. But the problem with our O line is there are injuries and old veterans are on our O
yeah.
line. And then it's like we're top 5 for sure at the O line, but it comes down to if these guys can stay healthy. Um, can Miles Sanders be that 3 down running back? I think there is a guy in the running back core that can beat him out though. For RB1, and that's Kenneth Gainwell, the rookie from last year.
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot about him. There is a little bit of steam picking up about him as well. Yeah, you bring up a good point. Maybe they split carries. We'll see. Training camp's going to be an interesting time for them. So,
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
let's get to the last topic of the day that we've got, and this is incorporating both the 49ers and this is the title of the show. So we're gonna save the best for last. Who has the better season, Trey Lance or Jalen Hurts, and who has a better long-term career in your opinion? Yeah, I mean, it first like could be a lot different to what these two quarterbacks do in the long term because one could get injured or whatever. So
Yeah.
who in your opinion has the better season?
I think I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. But like where I
Yeah.
have to give words to, it's I think Hurts is gonna have a slight edge over him this season. And when it comes down to it this season, I think it's just more
Yeah.
about the talent. I think how Hurts comes in, he's gonna come play. And then it's like I hope they don't make the offense too bland for him and take a lot of his stuff off his shoulder and just make the game a lot more simple for him so he can, digest everything that's going on. But I think the receivers that we added this season, AJ Brown, we already have Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard, a beast of a tight end. We have guys like Zach Pascal, Quez Watkins. I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
guys for him to, use and utilize a lot more. And that's nothing against Trey Lance, but that's neither here or there. But I think Lance is gonna have a really good like career, comes down to how he improves. I think both
Hmm.
guys can be neck and neck, to be honest, because they almost play similar. It's just that Trey Lance is a better arm in general.
Yeah.
But if you like really look close, they kind of play almost similar. Like this season, this off season, Hurts worked on his mechanics, and when he threw the ball, I was like, it kind of reminds me of how Lance throws, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like his release, like the way Lance gets that ball off like his fingers, it's like he puts like a slight like notch on that ball. But I think both quarterbacks are going to be neck and neck. I think if you ask me longevity, I think it's going to probably be Hurts because of the fact that he has a better O line. But
Yeah.
it also could be Lance because he sits in the pocket more than Hurts does. So, and it could translate this year that Hurts maybe sits in the pocket a little longer than he did last year, but we'll see.
I think next year for the 49ers, you make it a priority to go and get offensive linemen. I don't know what we were exactly thinking this year. Obviously, with Jimmy Garoppolo still on the books, that's a little tough. We really never started off with a lot of cap space, but I think you make it a priority to to fix the offensive line, see how it goes this year. But I really don't like. I think this year he's going to be under more pressure than Jalen Hurts, and I think we've seen with like quarterbacks year two is a big like, or year three really now for Jalen Hurts is a big year. And plus it's like a year that he has a 4-year deal, right? And then he
Yeah.
doesn't have an option. So this is technically kind of like his year leading up to the extension, where if he doesn't have a big breakout year this year actually, like I didn't think of this, but he's on his 3rd year of his contract. So this year is a like a prove it year kind of for him where he could get an extension. So if he does really good this year, you could see him getting 35 million, 40 million, like as an extension. So I think that's going to be key for him as well. Plus, like 3rd year, that's usually when all quarterbacks break out. So I think system wise, I think Nick Sirianni, we talked about this before. I think he's maybe Kyle Shanahan's system as a better system, but the offensive line, if you can just get back to like what you were saying before, the running part aspect, then yeah, that takes a lot off of Jalen Hurts. And then you could see him being like, I could definitely see him being a top 10 quarterback in his 3rd year for Trey Lance. I think he has, I think, a better system, possibly a better defense. Well, better defensive line, should I say, because your
No,
guys is
I think you have a better defense, to be honest. I'm
really
giving you guys credit. Your defense is like really talented. Um,
okay.
and I
The,
think we signed one of your players, Jaquaski Tart.
yeah, that's
It
huge.
was a good addition for us. He's a solid player. I like
If he
Jaquaski.
can stay on the field.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with him, injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why we also let him walk because for probably each year for like 9 games he'd be gone. So, I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that's going to be huge, but as far as better defense, better scheme, but that's the only thing, like the offensive line. And then again, I think longevity, long term, I think it's Jalen Hurts as well because Trey Lance, like we saw last year, him go a lot more. Like, this is the scary thing. He needs to learn how to slide and maybe like take a lot less risks because we saw last year him go headfirst into a lot of tackles. And he had 2 injuries. Like, this is something that's very underlying that we don't talk about a ton, especially as far 49ers fans. We only look at and this is a knock kind of on 49ers fans because we only really look at the positive. Like, great arm. He's going to have a breakout year. Great system, great defense. But the one thing that he does have against him, and this is the underlying thing that I think a lot of people were overlooking last year because he wasn't playing, was his injuries. Like, he had 2 injuries. He had one in training camp, his finger, and then I believe he had a shoulder one as well. So his longevity, I think he's going to have to clean up the running part of his game because we saw him go head first. We saw him play very physical last year. He's going to have to clean that up, be more of a polished quarterback this year. And I think if you're Kyle Shanahan, you have to make it priority to do that. Otherwise, you could see a whole different. You could see him in a few years just get completely derailed and injured. Yeah. So
I agree, man. I think with Lance, like the dude is really talented. Like, and it comes down to when he was in, North Dakota State. That's where guys like Carson Wentz, Easton Stick went to. North Dakota State definitely develops a lot of talent, and
Yeah.
they're the best team in that conference. But I personally feel like Trey Lance right now, he's in such a good system, and he was one of those quarterbacks that you know I wouldn't even say he was ready. He just played in a like a ready offense, like that offense at North Dakota State.
Yeah.
It kind of resembled like an NFL offense. So he already has that like chemistry from where he played at North Dakota State. It was a lot more, RPOs and a lot of sprinkled in stuff like
Yeah.
that. You add more of that like motion. And now you have a guy like Debo Samuel who could take the top off the field, but do the dirty work as a receiver. I think that's something that they don't give credit to Debo Samuel. He had 1,400 yards last year. So if you look at a pure receiver, a lot of people could say there's a lot of pure receivers better than him, but he had 1,400 yards. You can't take that away from him as a
Real quick.
receiver.
Oh, go
But
ahead.
no, I
Anything
was
else?
just gonna say he's a talented player, man.
Okay. Yeah. Hopefully you're still here. I didn't see this question till now. It came in like 1 minute ago, but this is an interesting one. And I forgot to ask you this as well. Any thoughts on Hassan Ridgeway? Like give us a little bit of a profile if you know any of this guy, because
Yeah,
it looks like he might actually be our starting. Like we have a good pass rush, but we have a little bit of a weak nose tackle. Like it's between a few guys that could plug and play, but he's like right now the one of the top guys. So any thoughts on Hassan Ridgeway, and can you tell us anything?
yeah. So I know you guys lost DJ Jones, and I'm a big fan of
Yeah,
DJ
he
Jones.
was big.
Yeah, but Hassan Ridgeway, when he's on the field, he is a dynamite player. Like I've seen this guy do a lot of things that wasn't like I thought he was a defensive rotation, but whenever he played the game, he gave a lot of juice and energy to the field. And it took away from a guy like Fletcher Cox because Fletcher Cox was not, majority of the time he was on the field. So it was like whenever he needed a breather, Hassan Ridgeway was that guy that went in. The only thing that you have to worry about with Ridgeway is injuries. That's the only thing that
Yeah.
hurts him. He's a talented player. The guy's a good run stuffer. And he brings a lot of juice and energy to the field. It's just that I think with like a guy like him, it's just he's more of a like injury. He's like last year for most of the season, he was on the like IR for most of the season.
Ooh.
So that's the only thing that you have to worry about him. He's a good player, though. I will say, he's a very talented player that comes in, brings a lot of juice.
Yeah, it seems like the 49ers always they always get these players. It's a trend that are cheap, they're good, but they always have like these injuries and they're always like they always have these question marks, but since we have such a good defensive line coach, we always think we can fix them. And I'm not really sure how I feel about that system of like we'll bring in these broken players that like need another spark in their career because they're riddled with injuries. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. Like Arden Key, it worked out. There was multiple hold on, who's the other guy that we have? Kerry Hyder, it worked out. So there's multiple guys there, but it's a little I'm a little bit scared because we do this year after year and it's just a little hard to contemplate that we have all these players on the roster that could all be on IR by week 6. So that's a
Yeah.
little scary to think about.
I think the most underrated draft pick for you guys, though, and he was one of my favorite players in the draft process, to be honest, is Drake Jackson. He has a lot of talent and potential and a ceiling to where it's just, I think he needed the right team to develop him. And I think the Niners could be that team. You
Yeah.
have Nico Ryans, one of the best DCs in the NFL. You go to a team like that, and he already plays in that environment already. He's around that Bay Area, so I think this is a good option and a good landing spot for Drake Jackson.
Yeah, USC. I remember I read something about them like that they brought in like halfway through his career. They brought in like a new defensive. No, was it defensive line coach or defensive coordinator that like changed his position and he had to like. I'm pretty sure he had to like slim down because no, yeah, he changed him to more of like a zone linebacker coverage type of guy. I remember a story about that. So if he again, I think he was in his last years during USC, I think he was a little bit. I think it was his last year that he was not as good because he was playing more linebacker. So if you're the 49ers, put him at edge rusher. because that's where he's going to be thrive, especially
Mhm.
behind it kind of goes back to like Nick Bosa in year one when he had Nick Bosa is now going to be getting double teamed. But then Nick Bosa in year one, because you had D Ford and Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner, he was getting single teams, and that's really what made him break out. So I could see that as like, he had 9 sacks that year, so I could see Drake Jackson being like an 8-9 sack player as well,
Yeah.
because of the single teams that he's going to be getting. So
But Nick Bosa's a strong guy, man. He bulldozes people. So even if there's like 2 people in front of him, he's gonna just find a way to move that out of the way.
yeah. I mean, I last year that's the thing. That's why I consider him like a top 3 defensive end. And
Yeah.
there's always this ongoing debate about what's his name? Gary. Wait, what's his name for the Browns?
Myles Garrett. Yeah.
I think he's better than Myles Garrett personally, because I think he has more speed maybe than Myles Garrett. Like Myles Garrett is stronger, but like I think he is last year he proved that he was a great player if he can stay healthy, because like he was taking double teams the whole year and he was still beating them. Like I
Yeah.
guess Myles Garrett does that too, but I don't know. I don't think there's a debate. I think he's better than Myles Garrett. So
I'll play devil's advocate. I think Garrett is better, to be honest,
really,
but no, and it's not even just for the fact that Nick Bosa isn't a great player, because the dude is an amazing player.
yeah,
This guy is like he's one of the like strongest people I've seen on a football field. Like, and it's not even like funny. Like I've seen this dude cause like 2 offensive linemen come his way, and he still beats it. Like and he uses his speed and his like length and his size and
yeah.
his strength to like beat those double teams and stuff like that. But I think when it comes to a guy like Garrett, the top 3 pass rushers, top 4 in the NFL is probably TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Garrett, and this is in no order, and probably Joey Bosa.
Yeah,
If we
true.
all think about it, I think these guys are just the faces of the league at those positions. But I think both are great players. I just slight edge it to Myles Garrett. The dude's fast as hell, but I see what you mean. But with like how Nick Bosa just a slight
Yeah.
bit faster, but I see what you mean though.
Yeah. It's very close. I would have rather like I wouldn't really I would if I think I would like both are really good. I guess you can't really compare. They're both really both in that number 1 tier in the league.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons is better than both. I don't know. I think he's a better all-around player than both. Yeah, I mean, he's a better linebacker, better coverage guy. He's definitely really good as well, but I'm not really sure
He's not
about
better
pass
than
rushing.
Bosa. Yeah, he's not better than Nick Bosa yet. He's not better than Miles either. I think he's a top 5 linebacker for sure, but he's not a top. I think he's a top for sure, like pass rusher. But there's just guys that are better, like Joey Bosa gets no respect. Nick Bosa, another guy that doesn't get enough respect. Miles Garrett, one of the faces of the league.
Yeah.
Same thing with TJ Watt. There's just guys that are better at what they do than Micah Parsons.
Yeah, good all-around player. I believe he's a solid, like really. I think he's better than linebackers in the aspect of he can cover, as well as he's like a freak. The one thing I do actually give is Micah Parsons so far hasn't shown that he has injuries. Now, I guess he's only played 1 year, so but like throughout his career, he really hasn't had like big injuries. So, and this is why this is a big year for Nick Bosa as well, because can he stay healthy? He's really only had one. He's never had 2 consecutive years where he's healthy. So he needs to prove it this year that he's going to stay healthy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, everyone, this has been a fun show. Thank you for coming on, man. Like this was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me, man. And I think the last Niners content creator that I worked with was Amin the Dream. So it's another cool experience to collab with another one.
Yeah.
I respect your content, man. I'm gonna be stopping by a lot more, for sure. But hey, I think you're a very knowledgeable dude, man, for sure.
Yeah, same here. Loved working with you. Real quick, guys. Thank you for watching. But real quick, I just wanted to quickly tell you guys that the giveaway next is 2 weeks underway. We're about 2 weeks through. So link in this description for the instructions on that. And then again, go follow Big Play Slay, just Big Play Slay on YouTube. And the link is in the description, as well as his Twitter handle. So go follow him there. Everyone, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. And it was a lot of fun catching up with an Eagles player, or not an Eagles player, an Eagles fan.
I wish. I
My
wish.
bad, man. See ya, everyone. We'll see you later.
All right, y'all have